Representative Begich from Alaska for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is for Ms. Howell. Do you support offshore drilling anywhere?
I think where it's already operating in the Gulf of Mexico, in the very specific area in the Gulf of Mexico, they're doing the best they can to keep clean oil coming to America.
Do you support?
Surprised?
I'm sorry?
Were you surprised?
I'm glad to hear that you support that. Do you support offshore drilling in Africa, China, or other regions outside of the United States?
You know, those areas are mostly drilled by American companies and by the colleagues that I used to have who worked the rigs in the Gulf. So I think it's important for the workforce that those jobs are available and they're happy. My best friend has traveled all over the world drilling for other countries, and our oil companies benefited from that.
So you believe that they are operating with high quality, high standard practices because they're American drilling companies, even if they're overseas?
Most of the offshore drilling that is done by American oil companies, I've been on some of those rigs myself in the North Sea, I can say are of the same caliber as what's being drilled in the Gulf of Mexico.
Do you believe that the regions that they're drilling in overseas are any more or less valuable as ecosystems than U.S.-based ecosystems?
Of course they are.
So they are equivalent. They are equivalently valuable.
Yes.
Okay. So we've established
This
that
is
we have.
an international industry. We're talking about.
I understand that.
Okay.
So we've established that American companies have high standards regardless of where they're drilling. We've established that those ecosystems are no more or less valuable than ecosystems in the United States. So given those high standards and given the fact that we have equivalency among ecosystems, why would you then oppose offshore drilling by American companies in U.S. waters?
Because, thank you, sir, for that question. Because our coasts have already established economies that are not consistent with the onshore infrastructure and offshore drilling and the potential spills for offshore drilling. We have an incredible economy on both the Atlantic and Pacific coasts that will be damaged by offshore drilling. It also strikes me as odd that we haven't talked at all about onshore drilling. We acknowledged at the very beginning our offshore resources are only 20% of U.S. supply. What's gone on in the Permian Basin and during the shale revolution has made America more secure than opening up one more lease in the Gulf of Mexico. So I don't understand the push, except to keep these folks employed, the push to continue to expand drilling in the Gulf. It doesn't make any sense.
So you mentioned that economic development is a strong consideration and existing economies are a strong consideration. So money matters to you.
Of course.
Okay.
I'm a good capitalist. I went to Harvard Business School.
So, so let me just take a moment and mention some of the terms that have been raised by colleagues today. Environmental racism, energy crisis, climate crisis, cancer alley, sacrifice zone, public health crisis, environmental justice, polluting industry, victim of the oil and gas industry. This is unhelpful rhetoric. It does not advance the quality of the conversation, nor is it data-driven.
Most of that rhetoric
I'm not
came
referring
from
to
the
you right now.
Republican side.
My time is limited. I appreciate that. The same voices that call on wind and solar, and they say that these are clean sources of energy, also in a hearing here last week called the mining necessary to support those forms of energy, they called that mining dirty. Are we talking about clean energy or are we talking about dirty energy? It's very confusing. And I think this is a duplicitous level of doublespeak that's actually code for let's not do anything in the United States and let's send development to jurisdictions with lower standards, poor records, and I think that's unhelpful, and it does not allow us to advance high standards that, as the witness acknowledges, are adopted and used by American energy companies. Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you very much.
May I respond to
Chair,
that?
no, ma'am. The
Okay.
chair now recognizes